gathering information? Is that what my...
Yeah, what I'm trying to do is trying to help out with these Cerb benefits, because I'm the tax mechanic. I have a number of clients that are in the entertainment business, small clients, individuals and that. And when I heard about, you guys getting these letters back looking for the Cerb repayments because the qualifications were met for the, the $5,000, the net versus gross.
Yeah.
And then the Toronto Star reached out to me, and one of the reporters was interviewing me about it because I was tweeting pretty heavy on the social media platforms.
Right.
And then I started getting a barrage of calls from people, so they're, I just want to try and, maybe feel you guys out a little bit about what your experience has been, and then maybe, add some value too by what I think people can do. And then I'll stick it up on my social media accounts, website and stuff, and send it out to my list, and even do a little Facebook ad. You got Cerb problems, related to this. Check out the website or whatever. So it's kind of a promotional tool too. But it's something I'm just trying to add value to people who are trying to defend against these Cerb benefit repayments.
Yeah. I have signed a couple of change.org. So there seems to be a group of people, not just you, but some other people who seem to have the same concerns and are trying to get attention.
There is actually. I was just telling Derek yesterday. They presented in Parliament. I think it was change.org.
Yeah.
And there was 7,000 signatures on it. And they got the NDP on side now too. And so what the government has said now is the minister's secretary came back and said, hang on, guys, we'll be back in a couple of days with some new information. So I think the way that's being presented is like, this is ridiculous. Let it, don't ask for repayment and move on. That's the way it's been presented. And I think my feeling is the government will come back and do that. If they don't, it'll be a little bit shocking to me. But and then the fight continues.
Yeah, you're thinking they'll change their mind, is what you're saying, or find a way to back out and not look like they have egg on their face, which is typical government anyways. They got to find a way out.
They don't like changing or admitting that they're wrong.
Their downfall.
Yeah, but there's been new legislation for Revenue Canada that, in fact, one of them, it's quite funny, is that they have to now, by law, admit they're wrong when they're wrong.
Right.
And so...
Is that new?
Yeah, it's new. It's actually just like a couple months old or something. It's.
And I'm wondering if that's what that, I don't know if you guys saw the questionnaire that I posted on the FB page the other day, the Toronto Entertainers Fights for COVID-19 Rights, where it's a questionnaire and it's asking everybody, what do you think we should do?
Right.
What do you think is important? And I started thinking, are they using this because they want to use this for their election points,
right?
Basically to get reelected? Or are they using this because these are actual things that they want to do, right? In helping small business, helping self-employed, helping us get back to work and that type of thing, right?
Well, I tell you, I always have been like a conservative, and but when I look at the positions of the parties now, and the only party I see right now stepping forward is the NDP.
Right.
And I'm like, and they're strong. Like, actually, I was on their streaming TV last night with the Southeast Asian community. There's, again, the NDP on there, arguing for the same thing. So I think that the Liberals are looking at this pretty closely right now and going, boy, we better get this right, because when you have 7,000 people do it, there's a lot more behind them.
Right.
I think it was more than 7,000.
Was it?
Oh, yeah. The change.org that I think I just saw this morning they were close to 150,000.
Wow. Okay.
It was a lot of people. A lot of people. So, I mean, I know how the government thinks. The government usually multiplies those numbers by 5 or 10.
Yeah.
And they know they got a problem.
Yeah.
I think Trudeau was taken back by the response on something like this, which either he was not told by the CRA what they were going to do, because we know the CRA can be quite independent of any presiding um, government at any given time. I mean, that's sort of one of the mandates. So I think he was thrown back a little bit with the response, and so that's why they've gone silent. It's kind of like silent running ever since.
It is, and you're bang on with the independence comment.
Oh yeah, I know.
Because
Yeah.
I got that feeling too. Is I'm like, wait a minute, I'm getting most people on outside of Revenue Canada are saying, okay, this is wrong, and you're hearing silence from Revenue Canada.
Right.
Like Revenue Canada should really get their act together and have somebody like me in there with some common sense and just go, here, for PR sake, so let's come out and go, yeah, listen, we made a mistake. We'll get this right. Give us a couple of days.
Right. Right.
That's all they have to
Yeah,
It's just
that's
like
all they had to do. Yeah.
It's just like you were saying, I guess, a week ago or 2 weeks ago, where all they have to do is if they want to check and see if somebody's legit, is go on their social media, and you can see whether they're a musician or not, right? By looking at all their gigs and looking at the people that they're connected to, and you know what I mean. It's like that was such a
just take your name and Google it.
Yeah, Google it. Yeah.
I think that all makes too much sense, and I think CRA is seriously struck in their old ways. And like someone told me the other day, the government made a huge mistake putting the CRA in charge of distributing money out when their main gig is to actually, retrieve money.
Right.
Basically. So they bad mistake. It's like giving a tiger, the opportunity to go in and take care of the hen house. It's not a good thing. It should probably, the whole thing should have been under, I would say, unemployment insurance, something separate. It is, something that's an emergency these days and stuff like that. You can't, the CRA is thinking like old school, like there was never an emergency. It should probably, the whole thing should have been under, I would say, unemployment insurance, something separate. It is, something that's an emergency these days and stuff like that. You can't, the CRA is thinking like old school, like there was never an emergency, and they don't get it, And so I think for the sake of Trudeau and saving his administration, they have to come up with something, because this is not, like I said to Michael from the union, I said, this is not 10, 15,000 people. You're probably talking close to 1 million, maybe more. And then all the people they know and families and stuff like that. This really strikes to the heart of big numbers for the government. They have to come up with something. Now, the latest statement, as you know, Derek, is, well, we'll take it case by case, but they massively screwed up here. Massively. Yeah. If they really wanted this to be accurate, all they had to do was tell anybody just to go to your line number, whatever the line was that they wanted us to look at, and it would have been over in 2 seconds. Yeah, but even that, to me, presents a problem, because just because your line 135 or whatever it is, business, says that you're below 5,000 doesn't mean you don't need the dough. It doesn't mean that your company is out of work. I mean, it's this is the deeper problem of this whole thing, and I think the government is starting to realize that you just can't say, hey, you don't deserve it just because you were 4,000. Your line said 4,000 instead of 5,000. Doesn't mean your business wasn't legit. And I've been saying all along, now we got to be punished for doing something that's legally okay, and that is to deduct. I'm deducting things because it's legal to deduct. So now I got to be punished for that. It's totally outrageous and ludicrous. And it definitely, my feeling is, and I could be wrong, maybe you guys can fill in, I think that Trudeau and the CRA weren't on the same page, and they were not talking really closely together, because the legislation was quite vague, didn't mention anything about net or anything like that. It was the CRA that came out and said, oh, well, that's what we kind of meant. It's ridiculous. Yeah. I mean, in normal times, a couple 10,000 people, small issues, I've heard about this kind of stuff, but in a pandemic, when you're dealing with millions on a Cerb, hello. So the government now has to find a way to save face, because, government can't admit they're wrong, which I've always said is their downfall.
And this whole way that they're checking during CRB, on how they're checking, asking you to send in your invoices and your contracts and all your details. And then on top of that, they slap you in the face again by saying, oh, by the way, it could take up to 4 weeks or longer. Well, how do I survive in that time?
Yeah, well, again, this is the CRA asking this.
Yeah.
again, they're acting like there was no pandemic. Everyone is just being like audited. That's like
Yeah.
that's an audit,
You know,
basically, right?
if I was working in a normal scenario in a normal year where there wasn't any, this virus or whatever, I would say, okay, fine, take your 4 weeks because I'm still working and I'm still money coming in, but I don't have any money coming in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm scrambling. Like, yeah, sure, I have a few little things here and there, but it doesn't amount to what I was making before. It doesn't even come close to what I was making before. And on top of that, they're a little bit rude sometimes on the phone.
Well,
And,
but that's their
you know,
gig.
yeah,
That's
I
their
know.
gig.
Yeah, I
Their
get
gig is to be like that. They're basically collectors.
right.
You know what I mean? And they're probably here, but they're acting like the only way they know how to act.
Well, plus
it's not their gig.
It's been an about face to their policy. Like on March 15th, they issued all these press releases to guys like us and the preparers and lawyers and accountants saying, hey, listen, don't worry, guys. Pandemic, we're not going to do any collections for the next number of months until it's over, okay? Relax. And they did that, right?
Right.
Up until about October. Remember when they opened?
Mm-hmm.
As soon as they opened, I started getting calls. I go, guys, can't you wait a little bit? But they never stopped.
Right.
And now they're doing it like when I've seen it with other people. I've seen clients. You should see the letters they're getting. It's like in the documentation. People are crying when they're calling me.
Right.
It's like this is.
Are they getting nasty letters?
They're very unless you're used to it, they're like very legal threatening type letters. So the way that it's worded, it's not worded in any kind of compassionate way. It's worded like, dude, here's the legislation. By the way, penalties are, imprisonment. Get us these documents.
Yeah.
And this is the government of Canada. Like, it's very, so that's
is this about collecting taxes from for last year? That's what these letters are about, or is that something like a Cerb letter?
No, it's like a Cerb letter, but it's a collections letter. But I think what's happened here, I'm completely convinced of this, is that somebody has let this out. It's like a computer algorithm that's put this out.
Yeah.
And now normal people are looking at it going, we sent this out? Ew.
Yeah, and it's, but the funniest thing about it is they kind of talk to you that way on the phone. And I told the guy, I said, you should be a little nicer because my taxes pay your salary. And then all of a sudden he was like, and I'm not afraid to say that anymore because it's the truth. Yeah, it's the truth. Yeah. And he all of a sudden he kind of his tone went down because he knows. And I said, I know they record these too. I said, I know they record these phone calls, so you should be a little nicer. I told the guy this on the phone because he was being a bit of a jerk to me.
Well, just for the audience listening to this on that comment is every time you talk to Revenue Canada, you should ask two things: is what's your badge number, your name and badge number, and what's your supervisor's name and badge number before I start talking to you. Right. And they are required to give you that, right? Right. And that puts them back, makes them accountable. Right. So they're not going to say anything stupid. If you don't do that, then they can say whatever they want and you don't know who they are. Right. Right. Right.
Yeah. Okay. That's interesting to know. Fraser, you seem to thinking, are you getting the sense, are you getting official word that there's a lot of wheeling and dealing in the background at this point? Because
there definitely is. I'm quite within a week you're going to hear some big news. It will be, I'm pretty sure it's like forget about all this, we're not going to go after it, or they'll come up with some new rule that'll make it they'll basically have to say that it has to be either net or gross. That's the only way that would solve everything. But just to give value again to anybody listening to this, I think you should wait to hear what the decision is.
Mm-hmm. Yes, of course.
And then after that, for example, if they do still say that it's net, right? Mm-hmm. You can just simply do a T1 adjustment. I'll leave it at that. You can go to your financial advisor or tax guy and get that done, and that would solve it. Right. And the other one, you still have an appeal. You got 90 days and you can appeal. And if you do appeal, go to the informal procedure. Anybody can walk in there. And I tell you, if enough people appeal in the informal procedure, they'll again, that'll be further pressure. Right. Right.
So what's the difference between an informal procedure?
Well, Good question. There's
Tony, I'm
two-
seeing your chin right now.
Sorry, I'm writing shit down.
there's
No problem. No.
Okay, I'll do this. Okay, here we go. So,
there's
Yeah.
two streams in tax court, formal and informal. So
Right.
informal is they got limits on what you can claim. It's $25,000.
Right.
But there's ways around that I know, whatever. But the biggest thing about informal is that you and I can walk in there without a lawyer and present our case. And I've done it for years, and I've literally never lost an informal procedure, ever. Because I know what they accept, and they work on your behalf. They're working actually against Revenue Canada at that point. It's just like Joe Regular's coming in here. He must have an issue, for starters.
Right.
Oh, what, Cerb benefits and this and that, and you didn't get it. When they hear your story, they're like, please get away. They settle a lot of times just because the Department of Justice doesn't want to get into trouble by the judge, right?
Okay.
So informal, you'll do very well if you have a reasonable case. An informal procedure, that's just for all the lawyers, right? They, just like to charge $15,000, blah, 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 and they drag it out for months.
Yeah.
Right.
yeah.
Right.
And just
Fraser, I think your instincts are right. That's already, it made these guys think twice already. Because again, the numbers are huge. We're not talking a few thousand people. We're talking maybe million. And that's just too big of an issue for them to not do something.
Yeah,
Now,
if they don't do something reasonable, I tell you, I'll take one case, take it in, and I'll have thousands of people behind me.
Right.
They'll all join in on this one case, and it'll be so, believe me, that's the best way actually to resolve these issues.
Right.
Because now you force the government, you have a judge forcing it. It's a judicial system, right?
Right.
The public,
Right.
it's even stronger than public pressure. See, public pressure, those guys like Trudeau, they can just listen to it all day long and do nothing.
Right.
Right.
But
Okay.
anyway, I'm
so-
just saying there's that opportunity
Yeah,
afterwards.
yeah.
So
Fraser, just to give you my particular little situation, which is kind of weird. Of course, I got the letter, but I kind of knew where through the union, and I sensed before this became a big deal that they were going to base this on net. And Mike didn't quite know. Mike and the unions did have informal meetings with certain aspects of the government. And they were trying to work out that whole business with, having to be able to work and make an extra 1,000 on top of it, still collect all that shit. There was some sense of maybe it was going to be net. So what I actually did was I did go to my income tax and I did check out my net, and it was more than 5,000. Okay, but what I've learned since I got the letter, I got really into the detail. Maybe you can help me here. It was the wrong line. I mean, talk about even more confusing. So line 236 was what tells me what my net is, and that's what I thought it was. And even my accountant said, yeah, well, net. Oh, yeah, if it's going to be net, there you go. He didn't even know. He was thrown back huge when all of a sudden it became official, because at the time he says, don't worry about it, because as far as I know, it's gross. So he was under that impression too. But now I'm learning that it's another particular line, and that's what's sort of really, I think, is nitpicking big time. Now you're going right. I mean, all they had to say was, okay, go to this line. Like they should have said that publicly. Go to this line in year 2019 and see if that's more than 5,000. Now, I can't remember the name of the line. I don't know if it was 135 or something.
you have line 150 and 236. You can have other deductions behind that. But you're right. To be clear, you have to be clear. Like to say, first of all, Morneau is on record for saying gross.
Right.
And he was the minister.
He
is on record. No, he was there. They've got a video of him. Gross. He said it. So.
Oh, where can I get that video?
It's actually on YouTube.
Okay, I'm gonna check it out.
Yeah,
Because if you ever go to court, that's all you gotta show them.
Yeah, if you just go to YouTube, type in or just
Morneau.
Put Morneau/CBC report or interview, and you'll find it.
That's funny. It's funny. He's my guy. His office is a block from my house. He was the guy. It's the funniest thing.
I always liked him, but he's done some really stupid things, like political things.
So you really do know that they screwed up, and I think they know they're screwed up. So the scramble isn't isn't that they can't, they isn't just about fixing it. It's making sure that they don't come out of it with their egg on their face.
Well, there's that, and you have to, what they're always worried about, you got guys, smart guys behind the scenes that want to use this for other things, right?
Right.
So if you let these guys go here, then you got to let this group go.
Right.
Then you got to let this group go. That's what they're worried about. They're trying to get all the accountants together going, okay, how can we minimize this damage, right?
Right.
And I'm sure that's what's going on. Because really, when I look at it as an accountant and as a tax guy, I have so many questions, starting with who came up with 5,000 gross or net?
Yeah.
How stupid
How does
is
that make any sense?
Yeah,
That's almost like insulting everybody that to say that, well, we don't know. We know that you make some money, but
Yeah, I mean, Fraser, that, there are students who legitimately made more than 5,000,
right.
And they're the ones that are not going to pay back. And guys like me who have to put food on the table have to. I mean, how ridiculous is that? I know in England, I have a friend of mine who lives out there. When they were dishing out their rules, they had the same sort of thing. It was the opposite. It wasn't if you've made 5,000. It says if you've made over 50,000, you didn't qualify.
Right.
That's how they did it.
Right.
That sounds great to me. Like, yeah. No,
that's
simple.
That's the
Why did I
smartest
think
thing.
of that?
Right. But
Exactly.
even in saying that, it still seems to me that anybody that's making under 30,000, they're trying to get rid of that sort of sector of self-employment, right? Because they already know that we can write off certain things when you're under 30,000, right?
Yeah.
And and it almost looks like they're thinking, well, we got to get rid of that core group of people because we're paying out too much money to them anyway. So
yeah, this is a bad way of thinking, but this is what it looks like.
It's what it looks like. Yeah.
Is that they're saying, hey, you weren't making any money anyway. Why should we support you?
Right. Exactly.
Well,
It's pretty harsh.
It's really ridiculous.
Well, yeah, but I've always argued that the deductions basically equal economic activity. It's money being spent into the economy.
Right.
Of course. And some of the deductions are like for rent and stuff that you would otherwise pay. So it's not cash. So you could still be cash positive.
Yeah.
And report even a loss.
Right.
And still be cash positive. So you're surviving.
The other thing that bugs me is that, okay, I don't have a payroll. Okay. And I don't have employees, but I subcontract out a lot of work. A lot of work.
Yeah.
So do I.
And so do you. And so do a lot of musicians in the city when they get hired to do, specific corporate gigs, and whether they're going to use their band to back up an artist as an original project for an opening act on a touring gig, something that comes here to Canada.
Well,
the endless amount of things that happen.
That's an extremely good point, and that actually had ramifications for the CEBA loan as well. Because for the CEBA loan, they said you have two streams. One for those who have T4 income or T4 employees. That's one stream.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't have that, you go into this other stream where you've got to go through hoops and give documents and invoices. And by the way, hardly anybody qualify for that.
Right.
But if you had T4 expenses, I know this. All my clients that had T4 expenses, 10 days later, money in the account. Not an issue. So why that is partly is because when you're T4'd, they want that, right? Because you automatically deduct and you have to pay CPP and EI, so it's revenue for the government.
Right.
So they have to fix this thing with the subcontracting,
right,
and the T4. We got to make it the same for everybody. I would eliminate subcontracting. No.
Right.
Or eliminate them both and just say everybody has to do this.
Right.
But the same.
Yeah, there are simple solutions to that.
Yeah.
Why does it have to be so complicated? Since when did being self-employed, why do they hate self-employed people? Why does it exist to this day? They allowed it to happen.
Yeah.
Okay, now it doesn't seem to be working for them. It works for us. My wife has two corporations. And she got rid of one recently, and watching her jump through all those hoops, the expenses.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, she applied for whatever it was, the CEBA loan. She got it in 2 days.
Wow.
But someone like me who works just as hard, incorporating really didn't make sense to me. I always looked at it quite every year. I look at, should I incorporate? Even my accountant going, you're not making that much. It's just, it isn't worth your while, And so you're right. It needs to be fixed. And I think this whole situation is now bringing forward all the cracks.
Maybe this will be the impetus they need.
Well, regardless of whether you have you got part-time, full-time employees on a payroll, or whether you're contracting people, through gigs, it still generates, income. It still generates employment for people in the province.
Economic activity.
Yeah, and that's really what supports the backbone of our economy. It's not the corporations.
Well, the subcontract, I've got a core group of T4 people, but I've got very important subcontracts around. They're actually almost more important because they're flexible enough for me that I can bring them in when I need them, or I get busy and bring them. So you need that kind of flexibility, but I treat them all the same. They're all the same to me. They're, whether I pay them by T4, it's money.
Right.
Okay. So we can see that there's cracks in the system, and the thing is how are we all going to go forward? Do we feel like? I do. I feel pretty helpless. I don't know what they're going to come up with. This whole pandemic thing in the last 11 months, I became, an activist because obviously our industry was shut down. I always claim that I got fired without even being asked. I thought I was actually in control of my life, and I am a free market capitalist type of guy. I'm sorry. I believe in freedom, and I believe in ownership, because that's where freedom lies, basically. And so I worked under the system as best I could, and I was allowed to prosper and do whatever I needed to do, even though to some people it's all relative. Like compared to my cousin, I'm not even pocket change.
You know what?
People.
I feel exactly the same way. But my biggest motto to everybody that I've been talking to is that it's our money. We pay into the system for you to help us.
Yes, of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to be afraid. I'm not going to be afraid when I get on the phone with one of these guys or ladies. It's like, or I'm not going to be afraid to talk to my MPP and tell them that. Yeah. I'm not going to be afraid to even put that as a point of view to Chrystia Freeland or Trudeau in a letter and send it to them. Yeah. Right? You work at the pleasure of us as Canadians, not the other way around. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That scares the shit out of them, though.
Well, hey, but it's the truth, and I don't mean it.
I know it's the truth.
I don't mean it. I don't mean it from a. This is activism, okay? But I don't mean it from a standpoint of, hey, I'm gonna come out there with like in the States.
Yeah, no, it's
like,
not a pitchfork thing.
It's not a U.S. sort of kind of thing. It's like I'm Canadian and I'm proud to be Canadian and I'm proud to pay that tax if you're gonna do the right thing with it. Yeah. Right? And the right thing to do is to help us out in our time of need when you won't allow us to work and you're telling us to stay home.
Well, unfortunately, talking out of both sides of the mouth is something that they do really, really well. 1 minute they're telling you it's important to stay home, and then we're going to help you. I mean, I'll never forget it. All I ever heard from Trudeau for the first 2-3 months, don't worry, we got your back. Yeah. This is going to be no problem. And I felt very confident. I thought the Cerb was probably the jewel of the planet. We were envious. I had friends from all over the world going, what? Blah, blah, blah. I have friends in the States who've got one check. That's it. Yeah. Right. And they're starving. And and all of a sudden they want it back. I mean, I don't know if you guys heard, but I think it was in one of the Scandinavian countries, the whole government had to quit under the same sort of thing. They came and went. They had to give something to do with baby bonus checks, something like that. I don't know if you guys know this. And then they asked for all the money back, and the backlash was so huge, the whole government had to quit. It's like, because it was just it becomes glaringly obvious. Okay, so my fear, and it's always been my biggest fear, because I've learned, I'm an old man. I've learned observing government and politics. My biggest fear is a politician who has made a mistake, because they will just keep doubling down, and that mistake will just keep. And so I'm hoping and I'm praying, Fraser, you're 100% right. They're in the background trying to devise some way to make this sort of go away. The idea of we'll take it individually, person by person. What am I going to say to the person? Hey, I needed the money. I looked at my line 236. It says, 14 grand. That's more than 5 from what I can tell. We're going to get nitpicky here. That doesn't mean that I don't deserve the money or I don't need the money. Like, this is insane. Are they going to go that route, or are they just going to make something like Michael from the union says, that maybe they're going to come up with maybe, I don't know. One of the best ways out of it is to just amend the legislation to use the word gross. I have always thought, just change the word to gross and leave it alone and let the dogs lie, man. Because if you don't, even if they use net and they want to start phoneting and finessing and a little bit of this, a little bit of that, it's still going to end up being a mess. It's like, what are they going to do? Hire an army to go through every single tax? Well, you've been there forever.
Yeah, I actually see a real opportunity here because before this, right, for years, my background was actually, I was a corporate tax guy saving rich guys millions of dollars. It wasn't that fun, right?
Right.
One day, this woman came to me on a Friday, and Revenue Canada froze her bank account because she didn't pay her taxes. She had 3 kids at home, and she was crying. She couldn't feed her kids on the weekend. I was flipping out all weekend, right? So on Monday, I got a hold of the officer. I went to my MP. I got it straightened out, and it felt great, right? And I went, wow, kind of like this. So I started doing that, being an activist kind of guy.
Right.
And then it came up to now, and it's been great. I've been helping out people who haven't filed for a while, some problems and fixing all that.
Yeah.
And this happens, and I'm like, and I've been saying this in the background with my team and my family and stuff is, we should work with them and tell them, like, what, here's a tip. Why don't you make it that you have to be over $50,000 like in UK, like you said.
Right.
Yeah. But I have a number of points. Like, I'll give you another one. Say meals and entertainment, it's only 50% deductible right now. Well, you want to help out the restaurants, make it 200% deductible so everybody runs out to the restaurants.
Right.
So simple stuff like that. And I'll give you another one. My number one is stop freezing bank accounts.
Right.
Please.
I can't believe they do that.
They do it all the time. In fact, they just did it to one of my clients recently.
Under this whole
thing, if you can believe it. And no, it's shocking. And she's trying to sell her home now to pay the debt, and it's just unbelievable. Like, so.
Well, no, but taxes shouldn't put you in the poorhouse. Then there's something wrong.
No, and there's actually rules for that you're not supposed to treat people that way, but they're not abiding by their own rules. So I think what I'm going to do is, because I want to kind of move forward here and we'll see what happens here, see what they do.
Yeah.
But I'll keep this kind of as a regular thing. We can Zoom or something and see whatever the next method happens or something, or say whatever they come out, and then we can discuss it, Zoom it.
Sure.
But I'm going to put maybe a couple of because you got an audience, I got an audience. Well, maybe come up with maybe 10 points or recommendations for Revenue Canada to implement, and make them simple ones like no freezing bank accounts, 200% for meals and entertainment,
right?
$500 bonus credit to all guitarists.
Hey, come on, man. Horn section, drums, horn section,
and
drums.
You can
300, 200.
And disabled stickers for trumpet players, trumpet player, I'm disabled, for my car. I can park in disabled parking spots.
And if you got to haul drums, you get an extra 20%.
Yeah, I'll send you this link that these 11 unions got together.
Wow.
And you can explore the link. And this is their way of, I wouldn't say protesting. It's just that they have a letter written out that if you sign on, they will send a letter to your constituents in your area. All you have to do is put in. It's a pretty brilliant idea. All you do is you put in your.
Is that for the sick leave or for the Cerb?
No, for the Cerb. This is completely
really?
for Cerb.
Wow,
and so all you do is you put in your postal code, and they will automatically generate who your constituents are, and they will send the letter for you.
Oh, great idea.
Okay.
And it's a great idea. I'll send you guys this because this is what they came up with. There's a lot of pissed off unions like
I can imagine.
and ACTRA. Those two alone are powerful, and they're just like beside themselves when they heard this whole thing. Because basically, as you know, Fraser, I think they really are just basically going after self-employed people. It's like anybody and everybody that I know who got this letter is self-employed, and I guess last year not decided, but just ended up really, at some sort of loss. I was one of them too, basically, right? As opposed to paying, because usually every year I pay, but last year, in 2019, it was a bit of a loss.
Yeah.
Right. And so then it seems to me like maybe you're right. Maybe they have some sort of a computer algorithm that just went through, okay, look at line 135 and boom, start sending out letters.
That's it.
And the impression that I got was it probably horrified Trudeau. He probably didn't even know.
Oh, I'm sure Trudeau looked at that. We sent out these letters? Oh my God.
Right.
Well, I mean, Jack Meek Singh answers me personally every time, because I was one of the guys that went on CBC in the beginning, stating this. I sent him a letter, and he said, yeah, we're definitely on this, because this is not right.
Yeah.
So he's the only politician that really answers back quickly and on a personal note.
Yeah, he's been good.
Yeah.
He's been really, really good.
But I have to say, every time I've sent a letter to Pierre, is it Paul Olivier?
Yeah, he's great.
He's great.
Yeah.
He gets back to
Does
his
he?
office. It takes a couple weeks sometimes, but he does get back to you.
Yeah.
And he agrees a lot with the points that you're talking about.
Oh,
with what the
he
Liberal
should be the
government.
next prime minister. That guy is just completely right on every issue he talks about. Like he's, we should have more people like that. But he's about the only guy conservative I follow right now. The rest of them are,
Yeah.
Oh no, the rest of them are a joke. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Okay, so Fraser, you got this idea of 10-point. That's a great idea. And you said you had a website, or what's your social media thing?
I'm the tax mechanic.
Right.
And I'll send you out a link and stuff to my social accounts. And
Excellent.
I'm going to tell my team. I'm going to write up a thing. I'll get some exposure on this for sure. And even send out this. I'll edit it to you and send it back out to you guys, approve it and stuff, and so that you don't say you don't want to say.
So it's taxmechanic.ca though, right?
Taxmechanic.ca.
Right.
And
Yeah, I mean,
I've got a list alone of 7,000, and my Facebook digital marketing, I can reach 30,000 in a weekend.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
For 2 cents a view and stuff. So I got it down. So yeah, we'll get something simple out like that. Give them something simple that they can bite on and go, okay, that may the 200% meals and entertainment. Who would say no to that?
Right.
Right? Or stop freezing bank
And
accounts.
the other issue coming up shortly is there are people who need the CRB, and it's coming to an end in March. So I don't know what they have that problem to deal with.
No, you're absolutely right. In fact, from what I'm hearing, is that a lot of the benefits for the Cerb, the wage subsidy and the rent subsidy, they go till September. So to me, that tells me, are we locking down to September? Because that's basically what you're saying to me.
Don't go there, my God.
But that's what that seems like.
Well,
or I don't know, but
because I think they realize also that us coming out of this as self-employed people, there isn't going to be any work right away.
No,
you know what I mean?
Some time.
You got to give us some time to build back up our contacts, to schedule dates for certain things, get their restaurants, get their live venues back in order.
Yes, that's correct.
Market to get out to their clientele.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And then they'll be able to, maybe in that period they'll be able to hire very, very small 2 or 3 piece units or something like that.
Yeah.
But for some live shows, but they're gonna it's really gonna take some. And I bet you also, because I'm thinking about the worst case scenario as well, is that they're gonna still put some restrictions on how many people can be in those venues.
Yeah.
Until they see certain things happen in terms of the pandemic, and closing it down,
Yeah, and I think there will be a hybrid of it where you'll have events where I could see, say, a bar having 10 people in it, but it's virtual too.
Right.
And then you can buy into the virtual and you can see behind the dressing room. So it'll be different like that, but I think those things will evolve, right? But
right.
I think it's important to kind of speak our mind now, because you're right. There's going to be hard times for the next little while here. So let's kind of straighten Revenue Canada out a little bit and go, guys, let's get, how about some more continue the benefits or something, right?
Right.
Or universal minimum income or something, but address it from at the end. You can't cut off in March and say that's it.
Right. Yeah.
Can't do that.
Yeah. I think they'll come in and they'll call it something else.
Right.
like a month before. They'll take their next little holiday and then come back 2 weeks before and say, okay, this is what it's called now,
Yep.
and we're going to push it out.
Yeah.
Right? I think because that's what
And
they did the last time.
Yeah, my
right?
feeling is my feeling is it's going to be UBI. Honestly, that's I got
Yeah.
a strong sense.
I think
Could be,
I
could
don't
be.
think they have an option anymore because there's and what that'll do too. It's actually there's a really strong economic argument for it because you get all the other welfare. So there's a lot of supports there. You
Yeah.
could just basically go, look, forget it all. Everybody gets X
Right.
minimum,
Yeah,
and then
Yeah.
you can if you make more, then start paying tax.
Yeah, and they'll do that for like a year or two because they want to stimulate the economy, get the economy rolling again.
Well, maybe we'll make that one of the parts. We'll
Yeah.
we'll give them the numbers. Here,
Yeah.
give everybody X. Get rid of welfare. Get rid of the people that are running welfare, and
Right.
we're all good.
yeah. You
Right.
can consolidate all of this into one office.
Right.
obviously,
WSIB,
Right.
the CBC, put them all in one building.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be it doesn't have to be a make work project either.
No,
Yeah. No,
and don't make it taxable, okay?
there's another issue. Don't even go there. That's unbelievable, gentlemen. It's been a pleasure.
It has been a pleasure. Thanks
Yeah.
For joining us, John. And
Great to talk to you, Tony.
Yeah,
Always.
you too,
Tony.
Fraser. It's great to meet you, brother.
okay, man.
I know where to
Take
go if I'm in trouble.
care. Right. Don't worry, I'll defend you.
Okay, brothers.